Good evening, everyone. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller, live from the Man Cave again, the only place to be on a Friday night, is here with us. So we're looking ahead to the Liverpool game this weekend. Very exciting. I'm guessing that someone, which is me, is not muted their tab. That's better. There we go. A height of professionalism from me. Did you hear all that?
Yeah.
The advert. Good. Yeah, good. It wasn't just me. Good evening. You're to the Cheese Room. I'm on with a Scouser and a few friends. So let's get started. Davo, how are you? All the way from Sydney. You well?
I'm very well. I was just relieved that tab you had open wasn't by the way of more adult content that you may look at from time to time. We've managed, or you've been watching your favourite Carpenters song video. Who knows? But it's lovely to be here.
Yesterday.
And yesterday. It's great that we've got everyone from around the world. A truly global show that we have tonight. Fantastic.
We do, and good to see you rocking the Cheese Room merch. You can get yours by becoming a Patreon. The link is going across the bottom of the page. Now, JP, also in Oz, but you're a real Australian, not a pretend one. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're at the arse end of this cycle of daylight savings, which means I can start doing these at 8 o'clock soon, which would be nice. And my tired eyes will be more prepared to battle our Scouser friends over here. So that'd be nice, but let's do it now. Let's do it. I'll take him on anywhere.
Well, we'll take that. And Flat Cap Jack, how you doing? When you came on, I thought you looked like you wanted to rob me, to be honest. Go on, put your hood up for effect.
I think it gave me more of like a non-effect of some kind, not as much of a, I think maybe more a man of a Spurs, maybe sect of some kind. Good to be back with JP. I feel like I haven't been on, a show with JP in a while, as well as Dave Harris. Have not been on a show with Dave Harris in a while. It's just been me and Collar and others kind of going through it. So yeah, looking forward to it. And I have not been on a show with a guest from the other side as well. So this is all new for me. Nice.
There you go. Apparently, Jurgen Klopp's been on the phone about his time wasting in starting this podcast. But all the way from down the road from me, Gel, how are you this evening? And what part of Liverpool are you from? Where do you hail from?
I'm all right, mate. No, I'm slightly outside Liverpool in the Midlands, unfortunately. But my nana, bless her soul, was Liverpool through and through. And before I knew what football was, apparently that was the way to follow. And luckily, she wasn't from North London.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's the worst when you have to follow the goons, isn't it? Yeah, that would have been horrible.
Well, that'd be Woolwich, JP. Actually. Yeah.
So, what year did you realise that you had to follow Liverpool? What particular year was that?
Well, thanks for the. So it feels a bit like what's it called? When they have that big book and that guy used to walk out. So I was born in '82. Started thinking about football in about '86. Didn't really understand what it was. Really got into football in the '90s. Just to the point when Liverpool got pretty rubbish. Graham Souness came along. Lots of other stuff happened and Man United took over. So my school years were mainly trying to think about what used to be for Liverpool and wishing it had come back. And then we had 15 years of pain, followed by now a renaissance.
A renaissance, yeah. Jurgen Klopp screaming in faces since 2000 and whatever. So tonight on the show, we've got Liverpool preview, predict the score. Data Dan apparently is now a crypto trader, according to my run sheet. So I'm sure Dave will have lots to say about Spurs' new crypto partner later. And then we've got the other news and predict the score section as well. Gel, you're welcome to join us for as long or as little as you want. But obviously, we want lots of information out of you tonight. Ask your questions in the chat. And absolutely do hammer that like button if you're watching. 55 of you already after 44 minutes. So if you all smash the like button, we'll have 100 people at 10 minutes. So do us a favor, hit the like button, smash the subscribe while you're there, and keep your comments coming. We value every single one of them. So let's get straight into it. It's a big game, isn't it, Liverpool? And we've lined up some Scouse legends over the years. Here they are. So, Dave, do you want to talk us through what's going on here?
Oh well, look, as we all know, Liverpool invented football, and and the fact of the matter is, Liverpool also invented music with the Beatles. There was never any music before the Beatles. Obviously, we've got a Laura last on the Saturday night with Cilla Black, which to JP and Jack will just looking with glazed look over their eyes as to another obscure 1980s reference from Davo. What's going on?
Fancy that! That's a shock.
I love that I've left a note on this slide to say, Davo, who are these people? And you've used that as the slide to use today. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
exactly. Well, it's just to help you out here. That's what it is. And then finally, as we all know, Scouse wit. That there's no other wit like Scouse wit in the world. And so here we have the Scousers from the Harry Enfield show. And there we go. It's just I'm just summing up the cultural nature of Liverpool. And I'm wondering if our guest has anything he'd like to say on that.
I think everything you said so far is true. We invented football, we've invented music, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. Look, there they are. Look, loving life. Invented music. Brookside. Do we all remember Jurgen Klopp's antics last year at Anfield? Here's a reminder if you don't. Jel, as you know, you play with me on a Tuesday, obviously. So you're used to some verbals. Do you approve of this technique of harassing referees, or is this something as a self-respecting gentleman of the village we occupy? Do you think that this is low down skullduggery?
I'm a kind of guy who was raised that if there's something wrong in the world, then you need to stand up and give a voice to it. And if you look at the statistics, basically Liverpool have been wronged by referees for quite a while now. It started in the Fergie era, and ever since then, for some reason, the Premier League referees have had some kind of agenda against us. And to be honest, it's amazing that we've won anything in the last few years based on the refereeing. But we carry on. It's our role to try and influence them through educating them and through quality football. And I think that's what Jurgen's trying to do.
Yeah.
Is that trying to suggest that like Andy Robertson, you wanted him red carded when you played us a couple of years ago when he put two studs into the shin of I think it was Sonny at the time. You wanted him off. You didn't want him. You wanted to have him break, but they didn't red card him. It's a conspiracy against you. They're not allowing you to rest your players.
Well, that was the same Andy Robertson that got elbowed by a linesman. And then the linesman said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that," and they were, "Oh, okay, that's fine," which was weirdly ironic that Virgil van Dijk, who was just learning English at the time, was trying to sort of recreate the learning he'd been doing during the week with the referee, and then got like multiple match bans, fines, and all sorts of things that came off the back of that. And we just, it's one rule for the Premier League Association and one rule for the players sometimes, which is disappointing, but hopefully we're all reflecting on that, and it will improve. It's all about constant improvement, I think.
How did Jurgen manage to do exactly what you're discussing after he, I think, dislocated his own knee or dislocated his, what was it, his hamstring, after doing such discourse?
He tore his hamstring harassing the referee. I don't think any other manager in the Premier League.
How did he manage accomplishing, what you were saying there after that?
Well, I mean, I find it weirdly ironic that a team who had Darren Anton around their place for a while is able to comment on injuries at all, to be honest. So it's glorious that you bring that up.
Good stuff. So my question, Davo, who put the slide deck together at great personal time today. So we thank you for the slide deck and the witty run sheet tonight, Davo. So if you like Davo's run sheet, do hit the like button. Is Jurgen Klopp a German baby with a sausage? Now, there's a few problems with this slide. Number one, the sausage looks a bit suspect. I've got to be honest, the Bratwurst. So I didn't put this together. Let's be really clear. This is Davo. The second thing is it looks like a cross between Daniel Levy and Dr. Evil. But the third thing is, could it be Harry Kane's newborn son? These are questions for Davo.
I mean, the question is that look, I think there's no. I think Alsgaus has disappeared already. Is he gone?
He ran away.
He's
I'm
run
still
away.
here. I'm just
He's
eating my
there.
dinner.
Oh,
No
sorry.
one needs to see me eat a curry. You carry on talking.
No,
about
you put it on mute, and then you can eat your Edwina curry. All right. So look, at the end of the day, there is no team more hard done by than Liverpool. We all know that. I mean, the way that ball hit Sissoko's armpit in the Champions League final, and the Liverpool cruelly awarded that first-minute penalty in that game was the hard done by. Jurgen Klopp. It was all. As Jack said, he did do a Ryan Sessegnon at the game at Anfield last season, and and how did he do Ryan Sessegnon? Because he was racing up to the fourth official, and at a time where there is a lot of abuse given out to referees and linesmen in amateur games, and you get 14-year-old kids who are reffing and trying to keep a game going. It's not a very good example to set, but as we know. Given the huge amount of ex-Liverpool players there are in the media, he is overindulged. He is someone who, because he's a personality and he's got lovely shiny teeth, and of course he's Liverpool who invented football. That's what's happened. So he is overindulged, and at the end of the day, he is ein groß deutscher Baby, as they say in Germany.
Okay, Jack, do you agree with this assessment? What's your thoughts on Klopp?
I feel like I kind of used to like Jurgen when he first came into the Premier League, and I liked him when he was at Dortmund. But then I feel like more and more he sort of came off as just a classic case of somebody who is a really great person to be around when they're doing well and when they're winning. And then is sort of when they're not doing so well and when things aren't going so well for them, they're the complete opposite and they're the worst person to be around. There's no in between. There's no middle of any sort. And he seems to be one of those types. He's well liked in Germany. I think that's because he has such a personality of, that's almost maybe a bit. I wouldn't want to summarize them, but not a lot of Germans I would say are a lot like Jurgen Klopp. I would say they're a bit different to him. So I think that's part of the reason why they seem to like him so much over there. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting this time around, Collar, to see what he sums up to complain about, because previous times he was able to complain about our style of play, our tactics, our time wasting, whatever it might have been. He found plenty of things to complain about. This time around with Ange Postecoglou, what's he gonna find a way to complain about? Maybe the travel time, maybe the traffic, the plush accommodations that Levy might give them. I'm not sure.
Well, you never know. JP, Liverpool in the Europa this season, has Jurgen's veneer disappeared more quickly than his teeth?
He's become get off my lawn Jurgen, hasn't he? Like, he's that old grandpa at the end of the court who spends all day kind of manicuring his roses and the lawn, and then screams at the kids that ride their bikes past because they were too close.
Has he become grumpier? Has he become grumpier?
Yeah, and that's all it is. He's just become like, he had this charming side to him when he was younger, and this wild, beautiful German. And then his team's got less fun to watch, and he got more grumpy about people coming close to it and trying to have their own say and input. But look, they look good this year, so it's going to be a tough game, and he's still one of the best managers in the world. So, it's something to watch out for sure.
I dislike him less than Arteta. I find Arteta to be far more infuriating. There are parts and moments where I think Jurgen is more of a normal person. He is more of a normal person than Arteta is.
Is that because that he's actually backed it up, whereas Arteta's won a lucky FA Cup?
Like, I think Jurgen sounds ridiculous and he sounds like a hypocrite a lot of times, but like Arteta, in certain moments, I genuinely question like whether I don't know. He's a strange man. Like, I do think like, in moments he just comes off as a very strange person. Whereas I wouldn't say Jurgen is a strange person. I would describe him as an annoying person. There's a difference between annoying and strange.
He was endearing. He had wonky teeth and glasses, and I can empathise with that. I'm all about wonky teeth and glasses. And then
maybe
all
the UK,
of a sudden, one day he comes across with like the most veneered teeth you've ever seen in your life, and laser eye surgery. Just so happens I have a consultation book for that. But yeah, he's highly annoying, Gel. How's your curry, by the way? Is it all right?
Really good, thanks. Yeah.
He's highly annoying to most teams in the Premier League. So my Jurgen question for you is, Gel, what do you think he will moan about this weekend?
Well, I think, if I'm completely honest as a football fan, the times that I've been annoyed by opposition is genuinely when I've wished that they were part of my club. So, at the moment with Spurs, trying to think what I'm annoyed about. Maddison, mate. Madison maybe as an impact sub.
Yeah.
I think, Jurgen is a sort of character who he's a personality. And if you talk about any other sport, if you look at tennis, if you look at snooker, if you look at whatever else, people love personalities. They don't want people to come on the TV and just say the pre-recorded line or whatever their agent told them to say beforehand. Jurgen comes on and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and undoubtedly that annoys a lot of people. A bit like Richarlison in a way, that it's better, you like having him on your team rather than against you. Only I wouldn't really want Richarlison on my side. So.
Yeah, we don't want him on our team particularly, to be honest, Gel. But he's there, so just like you on a Tuesday night, So.
I'm not sure I've ever heard someone kind of use the sport of snooker providing big personalities to the world. But anyway,
have you not seen Ronnie O'Sullivan? Ronnie
one.
O'Sullivan is like a man who just absolutely goes beyond the world of sport. He's an absolute legend. Like, he makes snooker interesting. What a fella.
That's a lot of work to do there.
Okay, well, look, Liverpool are on fire right now. That's one thing I think that we can't, unfortunately, deny. Here's their recent form, beating the mighty Leicester most recently. Whew, must have been a real tough game. Yeah, and obviously this is the battle of the big teams in the Premier League. Tottenham versus Arsenal, second versus fourth, 2 points in it. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Jack, do you see Chelsea on that slide anywhere?
I guess not. I don't know. Maybe they should have strengthened this summer. I guess is the common joke that's overused. But I don't know. That's just from me. Pochettino, what I might say from a sort of hindsight perspective, and I'm trying to ask maybe just Spurs fans quickly. I know this is a tangent that Gel might not care about. Some people are kind of saying that Pochettino is sort of struggling with breaking down a lot of defensive low block sort of kind of teams, and he even struggled with that at PSG. Do we remember that as Spurs fans? Did he at times kind of? I feel like I remember that too, but it's sometimes hard to always cast yourself back. So I think that's not only is he struggling with the 1,000 different various orphanage of under 23s that he has to pick from, but he also has I think an issue with maybe the Premier League has changed, football has changed, and like a lot of managers, sometimes things catch up with you and you're not able to figure it out. Even a guy who I still admire, but a certain Jose Mourinho doesn't have many wins right now. King Hoddle brought that up today, which I think is an interesting point, that maybe Pochettino football is passing him by? ? I don't know.
Pochettino football has also changed as well. I think when we stopped breaking that low block was when he started going to the back three and trying to do different things. The press lost. And so, I don't know. I fully expected Pochettino to go back to the things that worked for him at Spurs, but he hasn't. So
no,
which is what I predicted, because he didn't do that at PSG, did he? No. But it is a strange one. This isn't a Chelsea podcast. I'm not going to talk about Chelsea, but Pochettino is an oddball because he had a system that worked at Spurs. It was very similar to the system that Liverpool play. Heavy metal football or what, gegenpress, or whatever you want to call it. And like when we spanked you 4-1 at Wembley. It's just been abandoned. It was abandoned the last year and a half he was at Spurs. He didn't play it at PSG, and he's not playing it at Chelsea, and I can't understand why. I can only assume that Pochettino is now our agent Pochettino, at Chelsea. Let's hope so. But back to the weekend. We've got a game to play, and here is the expected lineup from Liverpool. Gel, do you think that's about right? Do you think they're going to switch anything out?
I think the interesting thing is, trying to create some sort of formation with the Liverpool side is always difficult because it's so fluid. We're always, everything is, the players have got now are able to interchange across the positions across all of it. I think the new signings over the summer are impressing Liverpool fans. We all had that Bellingham dream for a while, and that was crushingly broken. Like, a girl you see across the bar who waves at you and then walks straight past you to go and see somebody else. In reality, the players we've signed, it feels like we've, obviously other than Salah, we've got no real superstar, but they're all rising to the challenge. So I'm confident. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's going to be the team.
Right, this is your chance, panel. I speak to him every Tuesday at football, unfortunately, about Liverpool and how well they're doing. So it's your chance to cross-examine him what the strengths and weaknesses of this team. Go, Davo.
The defence. So, Joe, how are you feeling about the Liverpool defence at the moment?
Is Van Dijk the same player he was 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
I think Van Dijk, before the injury that he got at Everton, Van Dijk was the best centre-back in the world. I think he struggled in the last couple of years, but he struggled in a team where the system was broken. And Jurgen Klopp's teams for so long relied on energy in the midfield to protect the middle. And in the last 18 months, we lost that energy in the midfield. And you could see that the players in there weren't doing the level of protection that they needed to do, or the creativity, or the sort of supply in the front line. So as a result of that, the defence was more exposed. And then when you play a system that relies on when Trent and Robertson are playing, where they're both bombing on and creating, the number of assists that those guys have got over the last few years has been ridiculous. But it does put pressure on the two centre-backs to be able to cover across.
Is it decision making or is it nothing he can do, or is it pace that he's also lost since the injury?
I think watching him, sometimes I think he's overconfident, and you kind of look at him and think, that's not your full speed. Why aren't you filling that gap? But so often you think that, and then he goes and just wins the ball anyway. I mean, his stats are still really high up there. When you look at the stats, he's still, in the top defenders in the world, but he's not having the iconic displays that he used to. So I think, across that team now, the defence is something that we need to get right, and we keep letting in the first goal. The number of times we've gone behind this season and last season. Last season, it came back to bite us on the ass. This season, so far, we've managed to go in at half-time, have a word with ourselves and come out stronger. But you can't do that every week. And, yeah, realistically, when you look at the teams we played, Spurs are probably the best side that we're facing this season. So if we don't turn up for the first 20 minutes, you could end up two up before we've had a chance to think about it. And if we do that, then, we're going to be in trouble away at you guys.
It's all right. We don't turn up for the first 20 minutes either, so it's going to be a boring first start to the game.
Do you guys know defensive midfielder? How jealous are you of Bissouma?
Well, in the summer, the Liverpool Twitter feeds were basically just all over who are we going to get? Is it going to be Decore? And we had a list of 15 guys. And Jay Spearing was quite high up there, to be honest, as a former kind of club icon who's now coaching some kind of thing in the background. Maybe we could just get him out. Jurgen used to play in defence back in the day. Maybe he could put in a shift. I think our best form of defence at the moment is attack. So, who needs a natural six when he can just bomb on with everybody else?
And were you disappointed when Jordan Henderson left because he was continuing his campaigning for the LGBTQ community?
If I'm honest, I'm still hurting about that. Just the whole situation is Steven Gerrard is honestly, I'd probably leave my wife for Steven Gerrard. He's an absolute legend. When he got a managerial role over there, I just thought, what are you doing? And then, when Henderson went, personally, I could see him doing a role for Liverpool like Milner's done for the next few years and coming off the bench and providing that little bit of calm when we needed it. He obviously wanted to leave at a point where, the money was there. And if they asked him again in a year's time, the money wouldn't be the same. So personally, I just find the whole situation a bit bizarre, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Jell, I think you've given me COVID, by the way, because I've been poorly since I saw you on Tuesday. But that's a side issue. So if you see me blow my nose, viewers, sorry about that. I'll try and mute it as much as I can. Trent Alexander-Arnold is obviously a very good player. Terrible defensively, if I may say. But is he likely to come in for Gomez this weekend, Joe?
I hope so. I haven't taken him out of my fantasy team yet. I'm trying to sort of read between the lines. Liverpool are quite cagey with some of their sort of injury situations. And, you know, they'll put a press statement out saying it's a short-term injury, and then you won't see Thiago for 6 months. And you're like, well, hang on a minute. What's going on there? We're definitely a better side when he's in it. I don't really sign up to the argument that he's a horrible, ridiculous defender. You know, often we compare him to Reece James and go, oh, look at him. And then you see the number of mistakes that he makes for England and for Chelsea. And you think, well, actually, they're exposed by the way they play. You know, and every team knows that with Trent bombing on, the right ball is a diagonal ball in behind and to the right-hand side where Trent's left that gap. And then he has to track back and recover. And he's almost like as good as his attacking flair is, creates the challenges that he then has defensively. I don't think he's necessarily as bad a defender as people make out, but he's always out of position. And he's out of position not because he doesn't know how to play, but because Jurgen tells him to bomb on.
Interesting.
So what we're saying here is that he's in position and Jurgen's clueless.
Well, no, Jurgen can see that his attacking strengths are the best in the world at what he does. And why wouldn't you play to that person's strengths? You look at your team and think, is this guy the best defender in the world, or is he the best creative right back in the world? And he's the best creative right back in the world. So you create the conditions that allow him to play like that. But when Konate plays where Matip is in that image, Konate can cover across the right. When Konate's not there and it's either Matip or Gomez or the young lad, then we're in a lot of trouble. And if, you know, I'm sure Spurs have done their homework, and if that's the team, and Trent's on that side and it's not Konate in the middle, then the ball to play all game is that diagonal ball into a left-hand channel, into our right-hand channel. And we struggle to play on that, and we never really cope with that. Even in the last season, when we were playing that at the end of the season, we never really found a solution to that.
Your midfield versus our midfield tomorrow, I feel the game will be won or lost. And I think I can't say his name. Your number 8, Slobozlai. How do you say it?
Slobozlai.
Slobozlai. I'm glad you are here for that. I've heard him being raved about on TalkSport. He can do everything. Apparently, is he as good as Bissouma? Do you think?
I don't think Bissouma's the benchmark you want to put him. I mean, that's a bit of a low.
They're two very different players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too carried away about the fella because he's wearing number 8 and he can bang a ball like anyone. There are a lot of parallels to other players that have played number 8 over the years. I think he's got a long way to go before he kind of reaches legend status. But if you come into Liverpool at 22, you know, almost unheard of. You know, he was effectively our third choice in midfield as a signing over the summer after Bellingham didn't go right. And, you know, we looked elsewhere. And actually, I think we've got a hell of a player on our hands. And I think the fact that he's managed to influence games so quickly early on, I think you really need to watch him tomorrow. It'll be really interesting to see how that works. Jones could easily swap out for a number of other players. I think, you know, 8 and 10 are definitely there for the game. Jones is sort of, you know, Harvey Elliott has had good games. Who knows who that other player is going to be on that side?
So do you think he's going to reflect other, you know, the number 8 legends that you say, like slip over in crucial matches or be a charge with self-defence using his elbows in the Southport wine bar, for example?
I think the difference between him and other previous 8s is that in previous 8s generations, they've carried the team. And I'll be honest with that. You know, 2005 in Istanbul was the greatest night of my life. And at that point, you look at the team and you think we've got no right to win that game. I look across this team now and think he's not the best player in this team, but he's still a hell of a player. And, you know, that's exciting for a Liverpool fan.
Did you win the Champions League final in 2005 in Istanbul? I heard that.
I can't remember. I think I've got the DVD somewhere. I can I'll post it in the link.
Excellent.
We're good at DVDs at Spurs, so, you know.
Joe, any Liverpool fan who didn't know who Szoboszlai was clearly wasn't in our WhatsApp chat because HG's been banging on about him for what seems like 14 years. Saw him coming. Saw him in the nursery just next to Oliver, Skipp, and Caller.
You love
Very
a bit
good.
of Ollie. I
Yeah,
do
he
love
was at
Ollie's.
Salzburg. That's right.
I do
He was
love
at Salzburg.
Ollie's
I
Skipp.
do think he's one of the best strikers of the ball in Europe. Genuinely, like the technique that he does use and the power that he does hit it with from either a set piece or just from even open play, from a shot, a cross, whatever. The way he can strike a ball is genuinely quite unique and genuinely one of the best, I think, in Europe. And that's probably his kind of best attribute, or the thing that I would kind of maybe say about him the most. Is just the technique in any situation which he hits a ball is pretty ridiculous, I would say.
His distance covered is impressive as well. When you look at him compared to other people, he's around everything. And again, considering he's new to the side, he's having a big influence on a side that really he doesn't really have any sort of reason to do that so early on in his career. He's got an absolute traction engine. Is it traction engine when you really? I don't know what it is the correct term, but yeah, he's when he gets when he connects with it, it stays hit.
Apparently, he's got tiny feet as well, according to our resident Stato HG. So that's interesting. Not sure why it's relevant, but yeah. There you go. Would you take our midfield over yours, Gel? Is there anyone you're jealous of? You know, Madison setting the world on fire. Bissouma is now Bossuma, and Pape Sarr is a star boy. You must be a bit envious of our midfield, surely.
I think what's impressed me about Spurs is players that previously weren't at the level have come on under the new manager. You know, Bissouma is when you signed him was a good signing. Didn't from outside didn't really seem to hit the level that he needed to hit. He's definitely come on this season. But then you've got other players. So in our side, you know, you look at Jones and people kind of question his role in the team, but he's worked his way into the kind of Wijnaldum old role where he basically does a lot of the groundwork and retains the ball really well, wins back possession really well, and occupies the right spaces at the right time. And Jurgen Klopp's sides, the midfield has generally been the kind of grafters, nobody that's going to necessarily set the world alight, but that's just how they play as a unit. So I think Bissouma would probably be the one that would come in. Madison is a bit of a luxury in the way we play. I don't think necessarily as good as he has been for Spurs. I don't think he would make Liverpool better.
Mate. Oh, mate. I can go through your team and go like, McAllister's probably the player you'd swap him out for. And would you rather McAllister or Madison? The answer is Madison every day. Every day.
To be fair, Madison was good. When he won the World Cup in the summer with Messi, Madison was really good. He had a good tournament.
So, Joe, I mean, out of this team, tell me now, how many Spurs players would get in that 11? Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to think of Spurs.
I thought there was a delay.
No delay. I'm just confused. I think the honest answer is we'd have to change the way we play in order to accommodate the Spurs players. You know, I like Spurs players. We've been linked with Son. Jurgen Klopp bloody loves Son, but I can't see how he'd fit across that front line. I think Núñez has gone on a new level this year. Diaz has started the season really well. Diaz's consistency, maybe. You know, you could argue that Son could get in for Diaz at some point, but I'm happy with that side at the moment. How about you guys? Who do you think? You know, come on, let's try and swap in Spurs players.
Even play the way you want to play, right? There's Gomez comes out for Porro. That's a non-conversation.
I think our two center backs get ahead of yours because at the end of the day, Van Dijk has seen his best years. Van de Ven get ahead. Van de Ven and Romero get ahead of Matip and Van Dijk, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think they're a better partnership.
Let's put some respect on the name. Let's put some respect on the name.
On Van Dijk's name,
absolutely. Yeah, but some respect.
Yeah,
on the
but right now, this year, and also considering last year, I think when I watched Van Dijk last year, it's not the same Van Dijk that I used to see from years before. I think
he's not been the same.
4 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever timeline I'm getting wrong here, but Van Dijk absolutely for a long period was the best defender in the world. No longer is the best defender in the world. No, I don't even think he even looks close to the best defender in the world anymore. And I think a youthful, speedy, very good on the ball Van de Ven, who of course nobody knows anything about, but on just the first games that we've watched this season, I think they have a better partnership, Romero and Van de Ven, than Van Dijk and Matip do, or Van Dijk and Konate do. And Van Dijk and Matip, I think previously probably were maybe one of the best partnerships in the Premier League, if not the best partnership in the Premier League at one stage. But I just think their years or their age or injuries, whatever it may be, are kind of starting to show now.
I think it's interesting because obviously that's not our first choice 11. Matip wouldn't be. Konate would be ahead of him. What Matip brings in the Liverpool team is the ability to bring the ball out and move through into midfield and break the lines and create opportunities because defenders at the other team aren't expecting that. I think it's interesting. I've heard the caller mention a few times that Romero is this kind of the next Maldini, and to be honest, I've felt like he must be, drunk or something. But actually, so all Spurs fans,
Top of the case.
All Spurs fans think that Romero is that good, do they? Is that, or is it just you four?
I wouldn't say Maldini. I think he's probably the opposite of a Maldini. I think he's more like a Sergio Ramos or like a Pepe from like Real Madrid.
Exactly
And that he's sort of like a pit bull sort of defender that, will go through anything and eat through anything, like sort of kind of guy. And he does like
a red card, doesn't he? To be fair, so maybe
he doesn't get many red cards. He's only had one, I think, in a Spurs shirt. But he loves a yellow card, and he'll love killing you in the first 20 minutes, and then he'll leave you alone after that. But he'll definitely, I would see Nunez or Luis Diaz definitely getting a nice early cruncher. He's going to give you a nice early cruncher for sure. Yeah. But maybe more like a Sergio Ramos or a Pepe, I would argue.
I didn't think Romero had that good a game against the Gooners last weekend.
No, I don't think he did either. Not his best.
I've said about him is that I want to see 10 consistent good games and not interrupted by him going off to Argentina and coming back with an injury. No, I know that, and the suspensions and this, that, and the other, and unfortunately he's now reset back to 0 on game number 6 or 7 because I thought last weekend. On the one hand, you love to see him doing the crunching tackles, and he has played in a more disciplined way this season so far. And I think the added responsibility of vice captaincy has been good for him. But sometimes when Romero attracts attention to himself in terms of how he's playing from the point of view of being rash and erratic, I thought we saw that last weekend. I thought he was quite ill-disciplined at times, and some of his distribution was poor as well. People will no doubt bring out 4,000 load of stats and things like that, but I'm kind of old-fashioned and do it that way. Hello to the Irish Hotspur, my man, from the David Harris from the Northern Hemisphere.
I mean, I don't think I've ever compared him to Maldini, have I, Joe? I think that's
well, you just did then. Well, that was just said 2 minutes ago.
Joe compared him to. I didn't.
Well, no, I was referencing your fact that you rated him as a defender, and I think at times you said he was the best in the Premier League. And
I said he's got the potential to be the best in the Premier League. Okay. He's a quality centre back. I think you'll see that tomorrow. I genuinely do. I think. The thing is with Romero, he seems to have wound his neck in a little bit under Big Ange. His yellow card against Arsenal was for arguing with the ref. It wasn't for a rash challenge. Really. And, he seems to have got kicking people illegally out of his system. He just kicks them legally now. So he does rough defend forwards up. I can see him absolutely taking out Diaz, like big time, because he absolutely loves for it. He's a proper defender. He lives for the challenge. But is he like the best at bringing the ball out? No. I think Jack hit the nail on the head. He is absolutely a Sergio Ramos kind of player. I
think he is very good with the ball at his feet, though. I think he's actually terrific with the ball at his feet.
He's not bad, but he's not Maldini style, is he? Which is what I was comparing him to. But look, I think
and Joe, sorry, caller, Joe. Just a technical question for you. That we hear a lot about callers' legendary footballing abilities on a Tuesday night. We kind of get like a full match report. It's fantastic. If there is a Spurs player, past or present, that you would liken his football ability to, what would that be? And I apologise if I put you on the spot. If you want to come back to that later, you're more than welcome to.
No, that's good actually. I mean. There's a few. I wouldn't say it was like any particular one. There's a hybrid of a few. So he's got the energy levels of Berbatov. He's got the fitness of Anderson. And I'd say he's probably got the shooting ability of Steve Sedgley.
Or Stefan Freund.
Essentially
No,
scored
I mean,
some
no,
bangers.
better than Freund, but essentially, rather than he's not going to ping one in from long. He's good at the toe poke. He's nailed the toe poke. I don't know what whoever Spurs' best toe poker was. I'd say that's what the caller is. He's known for his toe poke.
Gary Lineker then. Gary Lineker. Yeah,
well, he's not quite that level. I mean,
I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. For Spurs, team news, if we can get off Tuesday nights, that'd be good. Concern over James Maddison and Brennan Johnson followed the North London derby draw. Brennan Johnson is out. We've heard that from Ange today. Son and Maddison are not doubts, but not 100% fit. But are going to play, I think, is fair to say. Bentancur back in training, but won't be rushed. We've got a Sessegnon update in a club statement this week. We said we can confirm Ryan Sessegnon has torn his hamstring during his recuperation and rehab for his other hamstring. We wish Ryan yet another speedy recovery. So we'll see when he's back. That's a joke, by the way. But team news for Spurs. JP had his head in his hands, and I couldn't watch it. It's early in Australia.
I would have believed it. And there's always news you bring to me on these shows and then ask me an opinion on it. I'm like, this is the first time I've heard it.
Well, let's talk about Spurs starting 11. What's your opinion on what that should be? While I get a beer, and then by all means pass it around while I'm getting a beer.
I think it's interesting because we're pretty light on forwards with Brennan Johnson out and Perisic out, and the return of Hilmessi, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point
later
on the cards, but not yet. So if Son's a doubt as well, he'll definitely play. But whether we play him up front leading the press or we push him out to the left and bring Richarlison back in, I think that's going to be the question. Because if you start Son and Solomon and Decky, then you've got nothing really to come off the bench in any of the wide positions, particularly if you're concerned about Maddison as well and you want to give him a break. Decky's really the only option to move into that role. So I would be interested to see us. I think there's probably a world where Richarlison starts up front and Son goes back out left, just so we've got an option off the bench to change things up. Otherwise, same as has been.
Jack, you want to go?
I would say you risk Sonny. I feel like Luton Town afterwards, I don't know, like it's maybe disingenuous, but we probably should be able to beat them without Sonny. So if he's even 85%, 80%, I think available or fit, I think we should start him and I think we should play him. And then we think about Richarlison as more of an impact sub in this game. I was a little confused or caught off guard by Sonny being hurt. I feel like there was one mention of it, unless JP or Davo can correct me, with the North London derby. I think it was sort of mentioned that he had something that he's carrying in that game, but I don't know. I just feel like you have to risk him. I think with Maddison, that would be a huge loss as well. I would also say maybe you do kind of risk him as well in this game. And I don't know. It's one of those situations where if I were a manager, I think I would be very, very hopeful that they tell me when they wake up that they're ready to go, because I feel like we have far less of a chance of winning this game with either of them missing in this. And with Sonny through the middle, I think we're better off with Solomon on the left. I think Richarlison is just best as a number 9. Keep him as a number 9. Keep him as an impact sub through that position. Don't play him on the wings, especially in this sort of system. It's not suited for him.
Jelly with Johnson, it's a strange concept for us to have a Welsh attacking player who's injured his hamstring. I noticed that well-known golfer hanging around in Rome this weekend as well. I think that again, I think Perisic is a real blow actually, because I've been really impressed by the impact that he's made coming off the bench. I really like that. The guy's a winner, and having that in the dressing room of not many winners. Other than Romero, of course, was the World Cup winner with McAllister, in case you didn't notice that, Joe. And that, at the end of the day, I think that's a massive blow about Perisic, I really do. And then, in terms of the fact that we didn't buy a central striker in the window when we should have done.
You don't mention that.
Well, I just did then, and I'll do it again if you want. is obviously, but we're obviously lining up the paperwork for Tony to arrive on at 12:01 New Year's Day, as is the way we always operate in the transfer market. So I think that's a bit of a concern, really. I'm sorry, I don't want to see Richarlison in the centre and Sonny on the left. I think Sonny on the left, he's lost a bit of pace. I mean, I've been really impressed with his finishing. I thought he was finished last season, I'll be honest. He's got a new lease of life now in the middle. The coolness of his finishing, whereas last year he still was snatching at chances. Like I remember Frankfurt away in the Champions League, for example. That's been good. The pressers, as the cool kids would say, and said that obviously using the word mate 5 times in a passive aggressive way. He said that Son and Maddison were injury doubts. Johnson's out, so that is a concern. But we may get to talk about our Spanish flying winger a little bit later on in the show, just for Jack.
Yeah, I was on good behavior with my answer earlier.
I thought you were. Stat-wise, Tottenham have won just one of our last 21 Premier League games against Liverpool, drawn 6 of them and lost 14. The last win was a 4-1 win at Wembley Stadium in 2017. I was there. We were really good back then. And Jurgen Klopp didn't have veneers. Liverpool has scored at least once in each of their last 15 games against Spurs. However, they've also only kept 2 clean sheets. So we should be finding the net, I feel, this weekend. And Tottenham will be looking to start a Premier League campaign with a 7-game unbeaten run for just a 3rd time. We were unbeaten in the first 12 in 2016-17 and the first 7 last term under good old Antonio Conte. So there we go. Salah has either scored 6 goals or assisted 9 assists, a goal in each of his last 12 Premier League appearances, including all 6 of Liverpool's games this season. 3 goals, 4 assists. So watch out, Salah. Romero is coming for you tomorrow. JP, what do you think the Liverpool weaknesses are? Obviously the defence, but elaborate on that.
I think particularly the right side of that defence. If Konate is not playing, and or whether Trent's playing or not, is
Konate likely to play, Joe?
It's unknown at the moment. It's very, very hazy, so I don't know. I hope so, because he's much better in the current system we play than Matar.
Okay.
And then I think their midfield's gettable as well. I think if I go through and granted it's a different system to the one we play, but I'd pick our 3 over theirs every day of the week. Szoboszlai, I question if you put him up next to Sarr, but or Slobozlai, or however I'm going to say it the way I want to. But yeah, I think if we can win that midfield battle, I think we can control the game, and there'll be some joy for us against their defence. For me, the question really is, with our injuries, are we going to have enough to keep going all game? Because we have seen Ange make, on that kind of 70th minute mark, make subs pretty consistently to the front line to keep the energy up. And we're pretty light on numbers there at the moment.
Jack, do you think that Liverpool have the best front 3 in Europe?
No, because I think they have Darwin Nunez. In my opinion, last season was all over the place. He at times looked like he was on fire. At other times, looks like he can't score. Even when he has a good game, it looks like he can't score because he missed 12 chances and the 2 goals that he did score. Like he's the one player. If someone were ever to score 10 goals in a game, I think it would be Darwin Nunez, because the way he does fasten chances like repeatedly is quite impressive. But I think just because that's impossible to do so, I guess he has to just miss all of them, because then it would be unfair. I don't know. I think they're just missing a real proven striker. I guess he could prove me wrong this season, but I don't think he has proven anybody wrong yet. And in the case of Luis Diaz, I think Luis Diaz was unlucky with that injury he picked up. I think he is a terrific player. Is he one of the best wingers in the Premier League right now? Maybe not. I think he could get up there soon, though. I think he is a great player. Salah obviously has been probably the best winger in Europe for a long, long time. But yeah, I would say Luis Diaz and maybe Darwin Nunez need to, especially maybe more Darwin Nunez, need to really sort of prove themselves. I think Luis Diaz everybody rates, but I don't know if he's exactly the best left winger in the Premier League. On form right now, he might be. He is having a great season. He looks like he's really had time off with that injury or something and is, looking back to his best. But yeah, I'm not too sure if he's really the best left winger in the Premier League. What I do love about Luis Diaz, does he still do those no-look passes every single time that on every pass that he makes, Gel? Because we have an Emerson who does enjoy, the no-look passes. So it'd be nice to have them both on the pitch at the same time.
I mean, from our perspective, it's glorious, to be honest, to hear that it'll be a surprise when Darwin Núñez ends up pushing Haaland for a golden boot, and Solskjaer ends up winning, player of the season. Really, I think the fact that they're still below the radar at this point, having played the games they've had.
Didn't Jurgen and him have a scuffle though in the beginning of the season or something? Weren't they on a disagreement or?
Well, I think the other thing to say, which I'm going to throw in at this point, is that the difference I feel between us and Spurs at this stage of the season, and obviously it can change with injuries and stuff, is our bench. If I look across our bench, the ability for us to bring on Gakpo, Jota across that front line with different skills, different perspectives.
Forgot about
all
Gakpo.
5 of them have scored goals already. I just think we've got goals across the team. And while we've got Alisson in goal, who's, I think, the best goalie in the world, you can still have fairly rubbish defence, and Alisson will pull it out of the bag. At times at Leicester in a week, we were hanging on because of Alisson's brilliance, and he continues to be brilliant like that.
And Núñez, do you think he is the South American Andy Carroll for you, Joe?
I've never seen Andy Carroll score 30 goals in the Premier League in the way that Núñez is about to.
So over his career, Andy Carroll, you've never seen him score 30 goals over the whole career?
They've got the same haircut, to be fair.
Which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest, Núñez is about as under the radar as Richarlison. Gel, what do you think of Ange? Putting your neutral head on for a second, if that's possible to do so.
Is that possible for a Liverpool fan?
What's your initial thoughts on Ange Postecoglou?
Well, I'm just going to tell you in a minute, my battery's going to run out, so I'm going to come. So if I, at any point, if I exit the call, it's not because I've lost the banter argument; it's because I run out of battery.
Plug it in.
It's not the narrative we'll use, so mate. It's not the narrative.
We trained you. While I'm here. No, I'll be honest. I think the neutral fan across the Premier League is surprised at how well Ange has settled in. Getting anyone from Celtic, you kind of go, yeah, well done. That's an interesting appointment. And I know,
like Kenny Dalglish, you got him from Celtic.
The caller, yeah. To be fair, the caller, I know he was rooting for Poch for a long time, and then he was rooting for the guy from Bayern, and he basically just wanted anyone other than Ange. And then I heard him starting talking about Ange when it seemed like it was going to happen.
Good insight. I like this.
What we're finding the best part of Ange so far is the fact that he's such a diehard Liverpool fan. Like, he genuinely loved the club. As a kid, it was why he got into football. Can't wait to manage a team at Anfield. He's just living his dream right now, and I'm sure he's going to really enjoy the weekend.
No, you're right. He grew up nearer to Liverpool than you did, so that's good.
Yeah, good. Top bounce. Davo, question for you. Will there be enough ex-Liverpool players on commentary this weekend, do you think?
I don't think there's ever enough ex-Liverpool players on commentary, in my opinion. And I think that there's a service that they could provide throughout the world. Wherever you are in the world, you're sat in your living room, you'll find an ex-Liverpool player on the couch next to you, providing commentary and extolling the virtues of Liverpool, as we all know. So, what we got this weekend, Graham Souness, Jamie Redknapp, over the global sports feed that you get from, I think, a studio in the Middle East. Probably Jordan Henderson will be knocking around there as well. And then you've obviously got, and then you get Jim Beglin as well, who probably all before your time, he was a left back for Liverpool. Was very good, actually, very biased. But you've got those kind of things. Alan Hanson's obviously in retirement now, but Kenny Dalglish's daughter is there as well. So as far as I'm concerned. My favourite pundit, actually, and for all those that have got younger kids, my advice is if you're living abroad and the game's on Saturday night, you're having an argument with your kid about going to bed, and Michael Owen is doing the punditry, that kid will fall asleep at half time and then they'll go to bed. I promise you it's true. He is the dullest man ever. So, Joe, as a diehard Liverpool fan from Bootle that you are, where do you sit with Michael Owen in your affections?
Thank you. I think a few things first. I think the the presenters and the pundits on the football really reflect the greatest players that have ever played. And if you think about the presenters there from the Spurs side, obviously you got Glenn Hoddle, what a legend he is and was. You got Jermaine Genius. I mean, he was great for Spurs during those glory years. So it is quite balanced, but you've just got to pick out the right ones at the right time. And unfortunately, for a lot of the other clubs around the world, Liverpool had that dynasty for about 3 decades, which produced a lot of good players. I think the one thing I will agree on is that Michael Owen is really boring. And actually, after he left Liverpool and then went and joined Man United, he's not really relevant to us anymore. And most fans don't really give him the time of day because he ruined his legacy. And no one wants that. It's like Harry Kane coming back after a year at Bayern Munich and then signing for Arsenal. I'm sure if he did that, he wouldn't be one of your own anymore. He'd be, who's that guy? And, moving on to the next one. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the whole pundit thing. Enjoying the fact that there's knowledge behind the sort of the commentary and the fact that they understand what Liverpool's all about.
Joe, is it possible to plug your phone in, or when you're gone, you're gone? Is that the deal?
Well, it's just a long way from the wall. That's the problem. I could move away, but I like the little pictures in the background. It's got the Liverpool greats. If you want, I can just bring it over and just show you that one right here.
Mighty, I don't want to see that.
Have you got Neil Ruddock and Julian Dix there?
That's what it looks like to win trophies. Hang on, let me see if I can get it in properly. There's a lot of trophies there. So it's really hard to
do you have Henderson's photo in Riyadh?
Yeah. So then we've got.
Have you got Henderson?
Do you have Henderson, Firmino, and Gerrard all posing together in Riyadh?
Yeah, you got Henderson at the Gay Pride rally this weekend.
Yeah.
Good on him.
There's a lot of trophies, as you can see there.
Yeah.
So I haven't got. So I am going. Oh, hang on, I've got a charger here. I'll have a go. But if I do leave, then
this is like a live tech. This is like a live tech update. It's almost like you're an ex-Tottenham player. Whenever we get an ex-Tottenham player on, the tech, there's some great players on who we love. Their tech is always that bad. Are you that good a player?
Porro signing.
Yeah, me and Sandro. Well, you carry on about Spurs. I'll try and plug my tech in over there, and then we'll see. And if I
would say is Gel's very busy on the pitch on a Tuesday night. Kind of Emerson Royale way. Okay. So here's a question for you all. Who's had the better transfer window? And I'll context this, JP. I'll come to you first. The Reds spent about 145 million on transfers this summer, bringing in McAllister, Endo, and Gravenberch. So what do you think? Did they have a better window than us?
I think they fixed the areas, and they did it late, but they fixed the areas they needed to fix, which was their midfield. We ended the window doing a lot of good stuff, but left really one position that we absolutely needed to get a player in still short. So we didn't get that extra centre back. So I think, which way you look at it as well, kind of outgoings, they managed to get a boatload of money in for players who were basically done on their contracts and done as players. So, Liverpool have done quite well out of this window. But I think we're probably thereabouts in terms of incomings.
Jack, your view?
I feel like we're more benefiting from kind of previous moves of the past and those kind of building up, and they now look like new signings, but in actuality they weren't. So if I were just to look at our summer window versus theirs, I feel like probably, I don't know. I feel like they're still, yes, they signed Endo, who like a few seasons ago was seen as a really great midfielder and one of like the Bundesliga kind of secret gems. Gravenberch is a funny one where I feel like he's highly rated by Football Manager sort of kind of type people, but he actually never ends up playing games for anybody. Like he didn't play for Bayern. He hasn't, I don't know, like with Liverpool, I haven't seen, I don't watch them enough, but he hasn't played for you guys yet. There probably might be a valid reason. I'm just kind of more taking a dig, but I don't know. I feel like both of our windows were like 6s out of 10, 7 out of 10s. Like you can't really be that mad, but you can't really say that it was perfect either. So I don't know if I have a strong opinion. Sorry. Really on either of them. I don't think theirs was that much better than ours, and I wouldn't even say that ours was that much better than theirs because we're more benefiting from the previous moves, in my opinion.
I take my opinion back. We won the window because we signed Ange.
And this is a fair comment by Gov. I think best signing of the summer. And JP did call Ange.
Did call it.
before it was even talked.
February, caller. February. I called it in February.
I've got to be honest. I don't know where Joel's getting. I wanted Pochettino back because I never did. But that's he's rewriting history there. There you go. You take what you want from conversations, don't you? Jel, I've got a question for you from Davo. Davo, why don't you put it to Jel yourself? It's about ownership. Who's got the best owners? You phrase it how you want to phrase it.
Jel, who's got the best owners?
See, I'm not an FSG out kind of guy. I've always actually really rated the fact that they've built our club in a sustainable way. And I can see what they've done behind the scenes has actually really helped the club progress. We've built the stadium. We've improved the training facilities. They have bought players that have been iconic marquee signings. Every transfer window we go and the whole net spend thing comes up and they look at everybody and go, why haven't we spent more? But then you look at Chelsea and go, well, you can spend 600 million. Doesn't mean you're going to be any better. So it's about spending in the right way. And I don't think Jurgen Klopp's teams in the history of how he's managed have been built on spending 100 million quid on 5 players and making it in the same way that Guardiola does. Guardiola basically just does an open checkbook and buys lots and lots of high expensive players and ends up with a very high quality squad as a result of it. And you could argue he's done that everywhere he's gone, and that makes him a good manager. But I don't think Jurgen Klopp's used to operating in a situation where money is restricted and he's got to improve the players that he's got. And I think that Jurgen Klopp does that. So I think Jurgen Klopp and the ownership work well together. If Jurgen Klopp was to leave tomorrow, it would be
to
really
Saudi Arabia.
to see how it goes. We've been linked with Gerrard, and then Pep Linders, the assistant manager, has been linked with the job. Xabi Alonso has been recently linked with the job, as is the guy at Brighton. I think any of those at the right time would have done a job. I don't think any of them are Jurgen Klopp, and I think they'd all struggle in the system that we've got, where we can't spend hundreds of millions of quid. I find it very entertaining, the whole Levy situation and the way in which Spurs sort of tangle with that dilemma. I actually think you're not a bad run club either. And if I look at our transfer windows and I look at the way we're both run, I think I'd rather be Liverpool and Spurs than I would be Chelsea, Man City, Man United. Newcastle, the jury's still out a little bit, but there's plenty of examples out there that are either just throwing the money at the wrong things or just seem to not ever be able to do the right thing. Whereas, you've had some challenges with some managers, but you've had a good run over the last few years. And I think I'd rather be a Spurs fan at this point than I would be a Man United fan or quite a few fans in the Premier League.
It's interesting because I think the ownership models and the owners are quite similar. The difference is that Spurs fans will look at Liverpool lost a Champions League final, went out and bought Van Dijk and Alisson, which were the things they needed, and spent the money they needed to make that happen. We went out and bought Sessegnon and Ndombele. And recruitment has been horrible on our part for a long time.
And Lo Celso, let's not forget.
And Lo Celso. Well, we're still waiting for Lo Celso to come good. Our recruitment's been horrible, and Daniel Levy's been too involved in that. And, we haven't gone out and bought the player. Like, you needed Van Dijk and you paid a world record fee for a defender at the time, but you got Van Dijk and he made you the team that you needed to be at that point. We haven't done that. We'll go and find the, B-Tech Van Dijk from, the Netherlands and go from there. But that's really been the difference.
I think I'd argue, though, you always want more. Like when we won the Champions League, we're expecting for us to go, right, let's just own Europe now and we'll buy whoever we want. And we didn't do that. And that frustrated the hell out of our fans when that didn't happen. And I remember when we signed Robertson, we were linked with Mendy at Man City at the time, and then they went and spent 52 million or whatever it was on him, and we bought some guy from Hull, and we're like, oh, God, what are you doing? And then, a few years later, you're like, wowzers, what a player he is. So it's not always about signing the most marquee player. And actually, if you don't spend the big bucks on them, sometimes they can have much more of an impact. And Caicedo going to Chelsea, I've watched the first few games and he looks like he's absolutely drowning in the expectation of what the fee was. And, and that situation, I think we've dodged a bullet there, in all honesty.
I mean, I think this is going to really, really pain me to say this, Joe. Really pain me. Now, I'm old. So for me, until Klopp arrived, Liverpool were like the West Indies cricket team of the Premier League. Really good in the 70s and 80s and shite after that. Sorry, monetisation. Apologies. I think that a lot. Oh, do we go to this now, or?
I mean, it's worth touching on, but
I think with look, I'm as is well known. I'm vehemently ENIC out since they hired Matthew Corbett from the City Show as our manager after Redknapp. And the fact of the matter is that people go, well, only if you're a sports washing sponsored club are you ever going to do anything. And I always hold up Liverpool as the shining example of where you have had for years. It's wobbled a bit recently. You had that perfect alignment of the Fenway Group, who know how to run, sporting franchises. I hate to use that word properly. And then you had a guy called Michael Edwards, who was at Tottenham as an analyst for a while, as the sporting director. And you had Klopp, and it was all perfectly lined up. And your Robertson buy was, an example of buying from a chap. Well, they got relegated, but lower down the club at a good price. And the fact is, in the Champions League final they lost. I'm pretty sure that Van Dijk was playing for them. They replaced the goalkeeper. And the last time we beat you was a genuine sliding doors moment. We spanked you 4-1. After that, you got rid of Coutinho. You sold at the right time with Coutinho and got the best price for him. And you got in two players really well. And we, from the history that we have, the North London derby last week was the fifth manager in charge at the Emirates in the last 5 years of each 5 years, which shows you the instability. So I do hold the Fenway Group up as an example of when everything is lined up, the infrastructure is in place, and there's total alignment, and it shows that you can win trophies without being a state-backed company. You sold a minority stake this week to get some more investment into you. And it does pain me to say it, because I've grown up knowing you never got a decision at Anfield forever and a day.
I think it's really interesting. Sorry to just cut in. I think Liverpool under the Michael Edwards era were absolutely smashing it out of the ground. And then when Michael Edwards left, everyone kind of looked around and went, well, what the hell's going on there? Why is he leaving? He must be going to somebody who's prepared to give him more money. Apparently, he just wanted to walk away because whatever was going on behind the scenes wasn't working. We promoted from within and thought, well, he was his number two. Maybe this will work. It hasn't worked. And we've gone through a period, and the guy we got from Germany this summer, the jury's still a bit out on that, because we felt like there weren't opportunities that we took. And it feels like, is there something going on behind the scenes that's not quite as rosy as it used to be? It's hard to know the detail behind that. It's amazing how much the kind of background of the club can influence. I look at Man United signings over the last few years, and every time they sign somebody, I think, oh, shit, they're back. And they're not quite back because they're still broken behind the scenes. And it's glorious to see this kind of fake emergence that then comes down and just falls apart around their ears. And I think there'll be a long time coming, because the club is fundamentally broken. Liverpool are hanging on to and need to rebuild in that situation, because at the moment our behind the scenes kind of mechanism of Klopp informing and some guy making the choices on who the options are for transfers isn't quite right. Where you've still got Levy diving in onto the detail, you're never going to get that. He needs to give Ange the freedom to build the club around his model, doesn't he, basically?
Yeah.
Should we jump onto the super chat?
Yeah, go for it, JP.
Are we talking about Kulu and Bentancur being the only decent buys pre-Postecoglou? Because Van der Ven's, I think, been pretty good, we can all say, and certain James Maddison hasn't done too badly. But I think you can throw Bissouma in there as well. I think the problem we've had with our transfer strategy is that because we've been chopping and changing managers so much, we haven't had a really clear view of what we're trying to buy. So Kulu and Bentancur were both great players that were signed for Conte for his system. So they worked for him, and they've happened to be good enough, or Bentancur will see, to transfer over to Ange. But I think you can throw Bissouma into that mix, Udogie into that mix, Romero into that mix. Porro's looking good now. So I think actually the last kind of 2 years of windows are actually starting to look quite good since Paratici's come in. And
think of it,
gone.
Bentancur probably gets into their midfield. Prime Bentancur, like very healthy Bentancur, gets into their midfield. And then Kulusevski, I know like he had that last season where he had injuries and also just wasn't playing to nearly what we think he could. But actually, if you just were to look at the first 6 months when we did sign him, just that season onwards from that January, he actually was producing better numbers than Luis Diaz did. And Luis Diaz had a head start, I think, of like a few extra games and everything than Kulusevski. Didn't he finish with like more goals and assists than Saka or whatever it was and all that stuff? So Kulusevski, if you were to judge him, and it's a really stupid thing just to take 6 months and then rule out all the rest, but he did look like a better signing initially than actually Luis Diaz did.
If you take out loan players, like ignore the loan players, so Galini doesn't count.
Longley
doesn't count. Yeah. There's probably only Hill that you could say
later.
Yeah, but like Kulusevski's arguably been the least impressive of the Paratici signings over the duration of the time he's been here. Because last year he was really poor. Other than Hill, trying to think of another one.
Galini, you can't say that. Longley, you can't say that. Richarlison.
Okay, I throw Richarlison in. Yep, I'll give you that one. Yep.
Perisic, I like Perisic.
Perisic somewhere.
And I like his highlights that he had in his hair. It looked like he'd been on a European holiday and he forgot to wash it out. Who else was there?
He's hanging out with Richie.
Yeah, I mean, on the subject of Kulu, right? I got to be honest with you. Even with this season as well, I thought when they changed it around to whatever formation Ange finished up with against Sheffield United, and he dropped deeper, he looked good. And now JP's going to go. I've always said he should play number 10. Anyway, yes, in that voice.
I think the North London Derby was his best match this season.
Yeah, Jack, you go. I hate to say it, mate. I know this is going to be worrying for you. We are aligned here. I thought the North London Derby was his best game in about a year. Last year he was pony, and this season it's the step in on his left foot every time on the inside. He's been found out. Even Cucurella's marked him out of 2 bloody games, right? So at the end of the day, he had his best game last week. I totally agree. Worked very hard. And I was hoping that Johnson would be providing him with some with competition for his place. And I'd like to see him drop deeper. He looks better there. So Kulu, I wouldn't have exercised the option. I don't care that Levy renegotiated Paquet Chris over 15 years.
Hang on.
No, I wouldn't have extended him. So I would not have extended. I thought he was poor last season. So in terms of
he was injured half of it.
Huh?
He was injured half of it.
No, he wasn't. He didn't go to the World Cup.
Hang on. I think this is very, very relevant this season.
The point of my bringing up Decky was to say that like we've had only hits, not to say that Decky's been poor. He was poor last season, but he's a good player, and for 20 whatever million we played for him, that's like you're paying for a sub player kind of pricing. So he's a good player, and we absolutely should have exercised the option. If we could do better on his side, for sure. But he's a good player to have in the team.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
As a Liverpool fan, I think he's a good player. He's one of the players I look down the team sheet and think if he comes off the bench, he'll cause us trouble tomorrow.
He'll start tomorrow.
He'll start, but we don't have enough play. We don't have enough quality in the squad to have these players coming off the bench all the time. We're not at that point yet, in all seriousnness. And I think with Kulu, he got injured when he went off to play for Spain in September, October. That's when he got, for Sweden, my apologies. That's when he got injured. But at that time, he was not in the team. Richarlison was in the team. He was on the bench. And then he was injured. He got back just before, I think, he scored that. He came off the bench, got that great assist against Liverpool for Kane, I believe. And then he didn't play in the World Cup, so he didn't have World Cup fatigue. And after the World Cup, his performances stunk out the place. And everyone will go on about, well, that's because of Conte and this, that, and the other. Well, apparently Sonny was liberated after Conte left and started scoring goals. The same rules here. I think his best game in a year was last weekend, and I thought he got a great goal against Sheffield United. Great quick feet for that goal, and he did fantastic. There's no way to buy. But this is the issue I have, is that the argument is we won't get a better player for that money. So we bought players who are better than him for less money, and bought players who are better than him for more money. I think that's To me, that's a nonsensical argument. Go back to our good friend Jelly here from Southport. He said, they bought Robertson for £6.5 million. They're up in arms about him. He's one of the best left backs around.
Well, I think Dave, part of the Decky argument there, because I think the jury's still out. To be fair, and I've got an important.
Which is my point. I wouldn't classify him as a good signing yet.
I would class him as a good signing personally, but there you go. I've got a question. I've got a question, Jelly, for you. Texted in from a viewer who plays on the same team as you. Who do you base your football style on, and what player would you compare yourself to?
Darren Anderton.
No, he's compared me to that.
Yeah, good question.
Giles, by the way, Joe. It's from Giles.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't realise he was watching.
He's watching, yeah. I bumped into him while I was buying my pork scratchings earlier. I said, make sure you watch Cheese Room tonight. Gel's on.
Oh, good. I'm glad the health kick's still going well then. I would say, I've got a great engine, football brain, zero ability. So whoever you can think of who's got a great engine, good football brain, but zero ability is basically me. I'll get constantly frustrated with what my brain wants to do and my body can't.
Very good right back then.
I'm thinking Jordan Henderson, to be honest. But yeah. But
I've got higher morals than Jordan Henderson.
Eric Lamella then. Runs around a lot, doesn't do it.
There you go. You always take Lamella with you. Predictions. Let's go predictions. Davo, what are you saying? What's this going to be?
I appeared on a certain channel this week doing some predictions.
Which channel?
It's the Irish Hotspur with the man bossing the Northern Hemisphere, Mr. David Harris. I'm bossing the Southern Hemisphere. We'll never meet. We'll never meet. Like, it won't happen.
Well, hang on. You're at the Chelsea game. He might be at the Chelsea game. You never know.
Yeah,
I'm there for Poch's return. So therefore, I predicted that I'm going old school because obviously I am old school. I'm going the 93. I mean, is it 93, 94 season, something like that? It was 3-0 at home. Robbie Fowler scored a couple of great goals, and I'm going for a 3-0.
No Højbjerg Viking runs.
No. But he nearly got something. I mean, if he'd have scored last week. I
think the only bit you got right in that was that you're old. JP,
I'm going to go positive. I'm going to go for 2-1 Spurs.
Okay, 2-1 Spurs. Only conceding one goal. That's optimism.
Yeah, I am realising now that we are at average 2 goals a game. So
yeah,
we'll see where that leads us.
Jack, your prediction?
I think we'll be on the better side of a 3-2. I think Liverpool have a far, far better attack than Arsenal do, and that is what worries me. And it's hard to win a game if you concede more than 2 goals. So I just hope that we don't concede more than 2 goals. I do think our defense is a lot better than it used to be, so I really shouldn't complain or anything. I mean, what we had in the past with Dier, etc., and other players, I mean, I feel a whole lot more confident going up against Liverpool than I used to. So I'll say 3-2, though.
No Dier for the win. Gel, I suppose I have to come to you, and I suppose you're going to predict a Scouse win.
I've just seen on the chat that someone's compared my description of my footballing ability to Phil Neville, which has thrown me a bit, to be honest. I think I might retire now.
I'll tell you what, some of your shots are, what's the word?
I've got a shot like Salazar, or whatever his name is. I'd say, based on our form so far this season, it'll be 3-1 to Liverpool, but in reality, I don't think it actually will be. I think it'll be 2-2. I think we might draw this one, a Desmond.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If anyone ever watches Gel play football, which you probably won't if you're watching this from around the world, but most of his shots end up in the next field. Let's be really clear on that. I'm saying I think it'll be a Desmond. I think we'll have a 2-2. And yeah, I think Sonny will score, and I think Maddison will score and get me some extra points for the Premier League fantasy football team, which, by the way, I absolutely stormed last week, 93 points. Thanks very much. But let us know what you think in the chat. Some of you already are. Waxing Miracle is also predicting Desmond. Craig is saying 3-2 Spurs. We've got another 3-2 Spurs there. 3-2 to the mighty Spuds, baby. Love it. Jeff is saying 2-0 Spurs. Lots of love for Spurs tonight, and some realism as well. So yeah, let us know what you think in the chat. We will absolutely get to those. In other news, Brian,
are we going to do the other? Are we going to do the other predictions for the other games?
The other ones. I mean, Jel, it's up to you. Would you like to hang out and predict the scores from the other fixtures around the weekend?
No, I'm going to take a really big dump now, actually, and just leave you guys to it. Right?
That's lovely, Joe. I've got one final question for you. If you've got
Curry didn't settle.
Yeah, I've got one. If you've got time for one final question,
yeah,
so,
go on.
Yeah, Joe. So, how many Liverpool fans does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I haven't got a witty answer for that.
That's a
Something
shame.
about trophies? I don't know. Tell me.
None. They just go on about how great the old light bulb is.
Good. I like that one. I like
Brilliant.
that.
Look, Jel, pleasure to have you on. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'll send you a live feed of everything that happens from the game tomorrow, especially if we score. If we lose, it'll probably be quite quiet. I'm not going to lie. But look, thanks for having you on. It's been a pleasure. Any parting words?
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been a mixture of insightful and bizarre. Obviously, if we win and you want to repeat the situation for the away leg for Spurs, then I'll be happy to educate you on where you went wrong last time and why all your assumptions were wrong. And if you win, then I'm never going to talk to you again.
Well, I'll see.
Joe, I think
anyway.
And just carrying on the theme of inviting people onto the show that, a part of people's lives in the cheese room outside of the cheese room. I'll have a mate of mine on from Book Club on next week as well, so that'll be good.
It'll probably be more interesting than I am. So thanks very much, guys. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the game.
Nice one.
Bye-bye. Cheers, Joe. There you go.
So obviously, where we get to the part of the show where the Liverpool fan has to talk about something other than Liverpool, he can't. Automatically, he has to go to the toilet.
Absolutely. Let's look at the fixtures we've got this weekend. Right, predict these, Davo. Villa versus Brighton. What are you saying?
I think it's going to be a 2-2 there. Exciting game. Brighton, I think De Zerbi goes deep into Europe, gets him in a Champions League spot. I think United or a bigger club is going to be calling for him in the summer.
Interesting. JP.
Form would suggest Brighton, but I don't want them to win because they're starting to become a problem. Villa are kind of in that space as well. So can both of them lose? Is that a thing? Let's go for 0-0.
Draw would probably be the one.
Yeah.
0-0 with red cards.
0-0 draw with 8 red cards.
Jack?
I agree with JP. They're sort of in that limbo of being teams that are going to be challenging us this season. I could see it being a 2-2, or I could see it being a Desmond as well. Actually looks like a really interesting game. Would love to watch it.
Jack?
Bournemouth, Arsenal. I don't know. I mean, Bournemouth caused Chelsea problems. Let's go 1-1.
Okay, JP?
Yeah, 1-1. I like that.
Davo?
Look, Arteta, being the great innovator that he is, he will name 2 goalkeepers on the bench for this weekend's game, and he will be the first manager ever to do 2 goalkeeping substitutions. Other than that, Arsenal 3-0.
Yeah. I think Brighton are going to turn over Villa, by the way, and I think Arsenal will win that easily, 3-0. Everton versus Luton, Davo.
Well, I've Jack a little bit before. Was a little bit disparaging about Luton. Have you ever been to Luton, Jack?
Oh my God!
No, I have not. Yeah, I probably am going to regret my comments. They're going to be after me. But yeah, I've decided to risk our best players and hope that Højbjerg and our other backup players can take them on. But I don't see them getting over the line with Everton. I mean, they're flying high with Sean Dycheball right now. Dycheball is flowing and it's free. So I don't know. 2-1 Everton. 2-0 Everton.
Okay. JP?
Could this be the return of Delhi? there's been talk about him trying to get in the team and then wanting to renegotiate with Levy, which seems bizarre considering it was only 10 million and they've had him for free for 2 years. But Everton should do this one 2-0.
Okay. United, the misfiring United, Davo versus Palace.
Well, Palace rested a lot of players in preparation for this game as well. And it's a repeat of the 1990 FA Cup final, which, as we all know, I'm still going United are going to win 2-1.
Okay. JP?
Yeah, that feels about right. Surely United don't lose this one. Yeah, I'll go 2-1.
Okay, Jack?
I think after JP saying that, it feels like United will in some way dramatically slip up in some manner. I might
Don't
say.
get me wrong. I hope they do, but
I would love.
Palace have been. I mean, everybody thought that they would be in the relegation scrap straight away, and they really haven't been. They've been actually better than what I expected them to be. So I'm going to say 1-1. I'm going to say they actually cause an upset.
I hope so. I really do. For Woy. Newcastle, Burnley, Davo.
I mean, it's just on the relegation scrap. I think that the three teams that have come up, I know it's early days, but it looks like a lot of those mediocre teams lower down in the league that have escaped relegation every year might actually get a free hit this year because those three teams are looking really poor. And just to the point about Luton, hang on a second, where is he? King Hoddle's been to Luton. It is a shithole, and indeed, I can confirm it is a shithole. Don't go there. Anyway, Newcastle, Burnley. I reckon it will be 7-0.
15 goals.
JP.
3-0 Newcastle.
Jack.
3-1, 3-0. Yeah, 3-0. 3-0. Burnley don't look good.
Yeah, easy win. Could be 3, 4, 5. Let's go 4.
Just don't forget that Company was. How's Company going as our Spurs? As the Spurs?
Yeah, a lot of people had Company high up their list. I don't know why.
Yeah, some people thought the deal was done. That's some of our ITKs said he's joined us. Some people.
West Ham versus Sheffield United.
Sorry. I assumed you were turning to me there. It's very rude of me.
Your assumption was correct.
I know, but
I was shoveling a pork scratching in.
And as a Jew celebrating the Sabbath, if you want to have a pork scratching, that's fine by me. It's all about diversity. Anyway, what game was it? West Ham, Sheffield United. So look, I know that Sheffield United wasted time till the following Monday week until the game finished at the Tottenham Stadium. I was actually quite impressed with how they played. I thought they looked quite good, other than obviously against Newcastle last week. West Ham, they are the greatest, having the greatest period of their lives ever. So I still think West Ham will win 2-1. Antonio flexing his pecs somewhere.
Okay, JP.
Yeah, 2-0 West Ham.
Okay, Jack.
I think this is the one where Paul Heckingbottom is going to get sacked, or maybe the one afterwards. International break is coming up anyways. I'm going to say 3-0, 2-0 West Ham. One of those.
Okay. I'm going to say West Ham will turn them over easily, 2-0. Wolves versus Man City, Davo.
Is your dad going to the game? Cool.
He will be. Yeah, he will.
He will. Who will he be going with? A mate of his, or?
Yeah, he goes with his friend who lives in the same town. So I'm sure they'll be travelling up together and then probably driving home disappointed together at the end of it.
I think so. I think City will win 3-1.
Okay. JP's absent without leave. So, Jack?
The Mateus Nunes derby, he's going to receive multiple, I imagine, plastic water bottles, whatever, hitting him. So, I don't know. I would say 3-1 Man City. I feel bad for O'Neill. I kind of thought he's a good manager. I still feel like he's a good manager, but they don't look good right now.
I obviously hear it all the time from my dad, but Wolves have been very unlucky this season. They've had some
that's what I thought.
refereeing decisions. I fancy him to get a draw.
I think he's a good manager. I'm just confused why they keep losing.
I honestly, I think they could well get a draw. If City score early, then obviously not. But I think they could. I think they could do something. Wolves. I think they're better than their league table is suggesting right now. That's what I would say. JP, do you want to offer a Wolves versus City prediction? You're on mute, mate. I sounded a bit like Ange then. You're on mute, mate. You're still on mute, mate. No, you've missed out. I'm going to the next game. Forest versus Brentford. Davo?
Brentford are looking a little bit wobbly at the moment. So I'm predicting a Serge Aurier hat-trick, as I always do, 3-0.
Lovely. And JP, you back with me?
Yes. No scoreboard this one. 0-0.
Okay, and Jack?
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-0 Forest. Brentford are now struggling, sadly.
I'm not sure about that. I think Brentford will turn them over 1-0. Right, Fulham versus Chelsea, a London derby, Davo. Poch could lose his job soon.
I hope not, because touch wood, I'm going to the return of the Poch at the beginning of November, so I'd like to be there for the reaction et al.
Return of the Mac, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. The return of the Poch. I don't want to see Gus Hiddink on the bench for the 18th time as the caretaker. So Fulham Chelsea, I think it will be a 1-1 dull game.
JP?
2-2.
Jack?
1-1 as well. I think that's a good prediction.
I think a draw is a good prediction. I think Fulham are better than they're suggesting, and I think Chelsea are shit. So I'm hoping for a Fulham win, but I'm expecting a draw. I agree with that. Yeah. So look, that is a lot of Now we did promise Jack that we would get to this. Messi is back in training. Do you think he could slot into Ange's side? I mean, it could make the bench at the weekend.
I heard Ange even had some very lovely quotes about the seventh wonder of the world.
I don't know. Go for it. Tell me.
I haven't read them yet because I've been quite busy today with other things. And I sort of thought when I had my first beer this evening, I'd sit back, read some Messi quotes, just sort of, ease into the weekend. Some people choose to do more exciting things, maybe more interesting things, but that's what I decide to do with my time. So looking forward to that later. And from what I could gather from what people have told me is that Ange Postecoglou already has been wowed by the wonders and the magic that this kid can produce on a field of grass. So looking forward to him being included in what I could imagine be the bench. I don't know if he's going to be thrown onto the pitch at any stage. If he does, I'd be delighted. But yeah, just to see him back into the team, he seems to, have the love and the connection with the rest of his teammates. Everybody's, been, hitting him up on Instagram, giving him all these comments and everything. It's lovely to see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to him taking this chance. And in all seriousness, if he's ever going to take a chance, this has to be one. I mean, I think this is probably his last chance to really get into the Spurs team or to really even be a Spurs player, to be honest, for any sort of foreseeable future. So I hope that he takes it. Best of luck with his health and everything, because I think an injury would really hurt him. But yeah, looking forward to this. And I think he's going to slot in on the left, on the right. He's useful on either side. On the right against Crystal Palace, he tore them apart. And then on the left, that's where he's played a lot. And he's not going to be, I think, as good as Perisic at, the deliveries or anything like that. But he will be similar to Perisic in his sort of willingness to take on his man and his willingness just to kind of create things, make things happen. Yeah. Sorry, it's, like it's 5:40 p.m. I'm almost losing my Messi, my fervor or whatever the right word is.
I'll up
so Jack, just for you. Sorry, Jack, just for you. I don't
not
know
in my best form. Not in my best form.
Sorry. JP, have you got your phone near you at all?
I do.
Yeah, I'll put in the WhatsApp group the quote that Ange is talking about Hill, and I think it's only, because we all love Jack coming on here and things like that. And I was going to read out.
Why do I sense there's sarcasm on the way?
No, I genuinely mean it. I love him. I love everyone. Well, except for a few people. And I think it's a special treat for Jack. I've sent the quote that Ange has said about Phil Messi. And if JP, because I think he's got a better Aussie, I'm a plastic Aussie, JP's a real one. If JP, in his best Australian accent, he is a Melbourne, where which Ange went to. If you could read out the quote in as your best Ange voice as possible, stick in a few mates just for Jack. Off you go.
My best Ange voice. So it starts with one of these. Yeah, no, mate. Like you've said, he's been a bit unfortunate in that pretty much since the start of pre-season, he's had a couple of injuries. Rub your face a little bit more, get in there. That haven't allowed him to train with the team. He had a good year last year away from here.
You got to clear your throat probably too, I imagine.
Yeah, and he certainly plays in a position where guys with his attributes can certainly fit into our structure. It'll be good to see Brian getting up to speed over the next couple of weeks, training with the team, and then obviously with Even going down, we're one down in those wide areas, so having him at the club is certainly beneficial. I wouldn't say it's fully glowing, but certainly up there. I will say I hope that he comes good, because that will make me 2 for 2 on my Ange predictions.
And just a final question on Hill for you, Jack, if you don't mind. And it's a bit of a technical question, if you don't mind. Do you think that Seville will extend their loan to Spurs, given he's found it so difficult to settle down in Spain and he keeps coming back to London in the summer? What do you think?
Yeah, it's almost like neither place seems to be good for him. Maybe we need to find just Belgium or Germany, maybe, is where El Messi belongs. He is clearly, though, enjoying his time at Spurs, and he's giving it, I think, a go right now. All of his sort of Instagram stories are about Spurs. He's constantly posting, times when he's watching the games. He's changed his profile pic to Spurs. He's, doing the opposite of what Lo Celso used to do, which Lo Celso used to make it as, possible to make it look like he wasn't a Spurs player. So Hill Messi, he's not even showing as much love for Sevilla as he used to. So I think he's trying to settle in the best way that he possibly can 2 to 3 years later. And we're looking forward to him wowing everybody like he wowed the people of Selhurst Park. And they're still talking about him to this day.
And has he gone for some highlights in his hair? Looking at that, has he gone Perisic?
He was in Ibiza for a little bit. He was in somewhere else in the Mediterranean for some time, and you know what that can do. It's very salty water, the Mediterranean. I've never been in it before, but I've been told it's very salty, and it that combined with sun can really work miracles for natural highlights.
I mean, I did love his picture on Instagram. I think it was during the Christmas break or something. That I think he was about to go clubbing in New York or something. And I said at the time that if you're a New York bouncer, you must be shitting yourself to see Brian Hill approaching the door.
He actually was. I was really disappointed. He was actually during that winter period. He was about 2 miles away from me. I was really in Brooklyn. I actually touched down in Brooklyn. I think he was near Bay Ridge, which is very unique. He was there to look at Statue of Liberty and the Manhattan skyline.
There you go. I mean, look,
he's a simple man. He's a simple man.
I love Hill Messi, and I think he could come good, but I don't think he'll get the opportunity to play enough, unfortunately. I hope he's on the bench.
Here's his chance, with Johnson and Perisic hurt.
But I think Johnson's only going to be out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you only get so long sometimes. You only get so many chances. So I guess that's what it's going to be.
Is Johnson any good at golf? Do we know?
Well, yeah, Madison is. If you need to know that information, I can tell you, Madison loves a round of golf.
Good news. That is good news.
That's my ITK. Yeah. So there we go. Look, it's been over an hour and a half now on the Cheese Room, and we like to keep these things as short as we possibly can. But we could go on all night talking about Spurs. Continue the conversation in the chat. Let us know your comments if you're watching this on catch up, and we will respond to them. But Davo, it's been a pleasure having you on.
No, it's been great to be on, and lovely to be on with Jack. He's got new domestic surroundings, so do I. And it's good that we've managed to. We haven't been on for a while. I think we've been moving and this, that, and the other. So lovely to see you, Jack. Lovely to see you, JP, as well. Good luck Are you supporting anyone in the AFL today, Collingwood or the other mob?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. It's touch and go whether I even watch it. So we'll see.
Wow, a Melbourneite not watching the AFL Grand Final. What are you doing instead?
Cam's there, isn't he? I think.
I'm going to go buy a bed for my youngest. So
Well, you can see Jack's got his bed there.
Oh, excellent.
There you go. JP, pleasure to have you on. Pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a hot minute. It's great to be back here with all you lovely people in the chat as well. Thanks everyone for watching and sticking around. We know it's hard when we've got those Liverpool people on.
There's still 102 of you watching. Please do smash that like button. It still helps us. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And Jack, as ever, just great to have you on, mate.
As ever, thank you. I've replaced the Shabbat sirens with regular sirens and regular honks and regular noises that are nowhere near as enjoyable or amusing. They're actually far more annoying.
We've gone from Shabbat sirens to port scratchings now, so what's going on.
My mute game has improved dramatically over time, and it will get better as things go on. Looking forward to maybe in a week and a half's time, whatever it might be, to discuss once again our seventh wonder of the world, Hill Messi. Maybe sooner into the run sheet if he plays well enough.
I think if he gets a chance, then we'll be right there. Thank you for everyone watching. As I said before, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. And look, come on, you Spurs, we can do this. It's Liverpool, it's the dirty Scousers. We can beat them. Let's rejoin this show Monday night, 9 p.m. Listen to the pod, subscribe on Podbean or Apple Music or Spotify or whatever your pod subscriber is, and YouTube, of course. And in the meantime, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Will you be?
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.